Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 318 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on August 19th, 2026. How are all you wonderful folks doing? Yeah, I hope you're doing well. Had a short break here, right? Had to do some blast testing for Uncle Sam. Then I had a family thing to attend. So I've been out of pocket for a couple of weeks, but back in action now. And it's a really wonderful deliverable for you today, actually. So we're all going to wish a very warm welcome or welcome back to the Rugged Obsidian 45. Yeah, that's right. The subject of report 6.7 back in 2020 is back today as the subject of report 6.234. So back in 2020, you saw the Rugged Obsidian 45 evaluated in both its long and short configurations on a 9mm combat handgun. Yeah, the HKP30L. It's our standard 9mm test host. Yeah. And so today, over 6 years later, you get to see it again as it was originally intended on a 45 ACP combat handgun, the 1911. Yeah, so today we answer the decade-long question, does the Obsidian 45 outperform the AAC Ti-RANT 45? Yeah, so check out the report at 0700 Central Time tomorrow morning, I guess today for you, tomorrow for me, to find out the answer to that question. I think some people are going to be wide-eyed at some of the conclusions in this report. No doubt most of the people who have actually used both of these silencers will not be surprised, but you know, I know how many new people there are to the silencer community, so this is for everyone. We're going to do an intro topic for the Obsidian today, and then I have a short second topic prepared for you on the new lawsuit and the injunction and the tomfoolery regarding whether or not you still need a Form 4 to transfer a dang silencer. Yeah. Has it been clear as mud? Yeah, basically. I've been getting a kick out of all the experts pontificating about everything. You know, everyone's trying to figure out what the heck to do. And I'm not going to solve that problem for you today in any way, but I am going to summarize what has occurred so all of you can catch up and not feel like you're out of the loop. Because, you know, most of us, we don't spend every waking moment on the internet. So, you know, when things like this happen, maybe you need like a one-stop shop just to have a little summary. So I'm going to try that. We've gotten so many dang requests from people to asking about it. So I figure why not? I'll highlight that for you in the best succinct summary I can give you. Okay. All right. We'll get on with the show. If you've been here before, man, welcome back. If you're new to the podcast, warm welcome to you. We're glad to have you here. If you're interested in silencer physics, boy, you're in the right place. I'm glad you found it. Okay, there are timestamps in the episode description to skip to wherever you would like, as always, no matter where you're listening. And if you want to stick around with me a little bit longer, I'm going to tell you about the fine companies that make this podcast possible every week by sponsoring it. And it gives us the incentive to keep recording it, and that's why we have so many episodes, because this is clinically insane. The first company is Legion Athletics, because nothing you do, exercise, sports, or anything is worth doing without consistency, right? You have to do things all the time if you want to be good at them, and Legion Athletics can certainly help you with that. They don't have everything you need, but they do have a lot of it, including whey protein, pre-workout, post-workout, creatine, vitamins, minerals, all kinds of supplements to help you with your health and fitness journey. LegionAthletics.com. There's a link in the show notes. You use code PewScience to save money. You buy one, get one, 50% off. You get cash back, all that good stuff. The important thing for you to understand, if you are a strength athlete or a competitive athlete in general that's drug tested, taking supplements from Legion Athletics will not make you fail your drug tests. Okay? That's very important to me. That's very important to a lot of the people that I train with and I know, my circle. Like we're clean athletes. I'm not saying it's bad if you're not a clean athlete, but I am saying clean athletes expect a level of quality in their supplements, and I'm here to tell you that Legion Athletics upholds that quality, and that's important. Okay, so get strong. Use code PewScience, save money. This podcast is also brought to you by the fine folks at Silencer Shop, always doing things to push the industry forward. So we're a fan of that. Their mission aligns with the PewScience mission. Use their kiosk. It's pretty easy. All your biometric information is all stored in there. And as we'll talk about today, you might not need that going down the road, but I can assure you for quite some time, many of you will need to file a Form 4. Okay, so you can do your fingerprints and photos electronically, cut down errors, simplify your silencer purchasing process, money back guarantee. It's pretty good. Just silencer ownership simplified. Speaking of silencers, did you know that Top Gun Range out of Houston is a very large indoor firing range and dealer, and they support Pew Science. They're the sponsor of this podcast. They're a silencer shop dealer. They have a 15-lane indoor shooting range where you can actually try out all of these weapon systems and silencers in person. They have the largest firearm rental fleet in the entire state of Texas. They even have an in-house self-hosted AI they have created that's trained on Pew Science public research that can answer silencer questions for their staff to help consumers. I mean, when you really think about a grassroots dealer that's really for the people to get the best products to them, it's Top Gun Range. I mean, they pretty much exemplify the mission of honesty in the space. And that's what Pew Science is based on. And so that's why they're affiliated with us. That's why they support the podcast, because all the information that we're publishing is helping people directly. And they're one of the mechanisms to make that happen. They're awesome. Okay, topgunrange.com. Capital Armory is another dealer in Texas. They're really large. They're an NFA specialized dealer forever, even before they were Capital Armory. The people running it are just NFA junkies in general. They are one of the most knowledgeable silencer dealers in the country with actual silencer knowledge. And I can tell you, it does matter. There are dealers all across the nation. Some are really great. Some, they're selling silencers, but they really don't even understand how a silencer works. Capital Armory is not one of those dealers. They are actually experts. I assure you. I wouldn't be saying that if it wasn't true. And they can ship these things directly to your door. So that's a thing. All right. So check out Capital Armory. Also, the podcast is brought to you by the Pew Science Laboratory. I'm the technical director of the lab. But I've been doing this stuff for decades, only doing Pew Science for 6 years now, but it goes in line with my life's work. And that is characterizing hazards for the public to protect people and infrastructure. That's what I do. It's my job, my education, and my entire life. And so this lab has chosen to continue to sponsor this podcast to push the silencer industry forward one test at a time and bring some of this practice into the firearms community, which has been rare up until this point. And we're very proud of the work we've done for the silencer community, and we hope it continues to help with your help. Okay, so Pew Science is the home of the silencer sound standard. It's a strict application of MIL Standard 1474 Echo. Okay, if you haven't read our website, that's what it is. It's all open source and public. Okay, the silencer sound standard is an open source and public standard. It's been replicated and enumerated by countless industry entities. But we also have something very, very special that no one else has, and that's called a suppression rating. That's right. It's the most simplest. That's good English. It's the simplest and most accurate hearing safe rating for suppressed small arms based on true human inner ear response to the entire gunshot from before combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is gone. That's right. It simplifies the science for you. Yeah. The silencer sound standard has 8 sections, the most in-depth and accurate silencer data analysis in the entire known universe, all available to the public 24/7 at pewscience.com. And you can support that. And you can support Pew Science and all the public testing we do by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. It would mean the world, but you don't have to join if you don't want to. The suppression rating is always free for everybody. I know monthly fees are hard sometimes. And if you want to throw us a bone every once in a while, a one-time donation, you can do that on the review page or podcast page. That's cool. It's tax deductible for you, And if you don't want to give any money, don't give any money at all. You can just do free things that don't cost you anything but goodwill. Just rate the podcast on your favorite podcast provider, like and subscribe, all that stuff, and let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome. All right. Okay, we have 2 topics for you today. Like I said, Obsidian 45 introduction on the 1911, which is crazy, and then topic 2, we're going to talk about lawyer stuff. Boring. All right, topic 1 at a time of 9 minutes, 39 seconds. That's ridiculous, but it is. I find legal things boring. I try to avoid them when I can. Sometimes you can't avoid it, but You try to when you can. One moment. Okay, topic 1. Sound signature review 6-234. Is it 234 or 224? Oh, man. It's 234. I got to make a note of that because I definitely just read the report that I wrote for tomorrow, and it's misnumbered, so let's fix that. Okay, wrote a note. Yeah. Sound signature review 6-234, rugged Obsidian 45 in both the long and short configurations on the 45 ACP 1911 full-size combat handgun. That's a mouthful. But like I told you in the intro, we first evaluated the Obsidian 45 on a 9mm pistol back in the early days of the public standard in report 6.7. That was in the year of our Lord 2020. So the huge question people have had for these 6 years, and ever since the Obsidian 45 was released, over 6 years ago, 10 years ago, whenever it was, I say, well, does the Obsidian 45 compete with the legacy AAC Ti-RANT 45? I don't know if you guys know this, but the Ti-RANT 45 is my personal main squeeze. It's like I use that, that's my silencer. I love it. So we wanted to know, does the Obsidian 45 stack up with the Ti-RANT? How does it compare with the Knights can? How does it compare with the B&T can? This is 45 ACP land. It's complicated. We wanted to know, well, does back pressure still matter? That was a question. And we answered all these questions today. You get to see it in today's report. And so we're going to go through that, just an intro today on the podcast. You get to read the report, and then we'll reconvene next week and do a whole deep dive like we tend to do. And I think this it is a blast from the past, I would say. Like I said, it was May 14th, 2020, that we published a report on the silencer on 9mm. It's funny, those two, the long and short configurations, they formed data records 10 and 11 in the standard back then. Records 10 and 11. So there were only 11 total data points in the standard that day. And you may ask, why did we publish that report then? Why did we do that? I'm glad you asked. It's my personal silencer, for one. I was just the lone wolf at that time, publishing data across different combustion regimes. My mission at that time was to give folks a feel for how things performed. Was literally building a research pedigree publicly before your very eyes. This was actually part of internal research in my quest to find the quietest silencers. And I started that quest by testing all of my own silencers to figure out why the heck they were quiet or why the heck they were loud, because I was being disappointed regularly by all the YouTubers. That's why Pew Science started. It was a selfish effort for me to find the best silencers for myself. Okay. It was pretty cool. So we started with 22 bolt guns and 22 pistol, and then we hit 308 bolt action because I'm a deer hunter, so that was important to me. And then we were doing 9mm semi-auto pistol because that's important to me too, because I'm a 9mm pistol junkie too. And then we went on a really heavy run of 308 and subsonic 300 blackout. That was we were tearing that up, and that was basically the time at which the industry really started to take notice of Pew Science. And did you know that pretty much everyone endorsed Pew Science back then? Did you know that? It's true. And you can look at the companies on the list of who's getting tested, and it's all public record. It was everyone: Q, Thunder Beast, Surefire, Dead Air. They all recognized the pedigree is accurate. All of them, publicly and privately, in conversations with us. That's right. All of them. I don't know what is happening now, but I'm telling you, they all recognized it as correct and compatible with MIL Standard 1474 Echo. It's public record. Now here we are in August of 2026. And again, this is 6-234, and the data records are now record 273 and record 274 for the two configurations of this silencer. I'm very pleased. We're publishing it now that we have finally selected the 45 ACP pistol host. I do think the Obsidian 45 does deserve a proper 45 ACP pistol host. The silencer has been in production for a very long time, and the number of units sold is very high. The silencer is in a lot of hands. This silencer is not popular because some influencers talked about it. No, the Obsidian 45 is popular, and because it filled a market niche that people wanted. It was then marketed, and then now it's popular. It is one of the best-selling and most-selling 45 pistol silencers ever. Ever. It is in a lot of places, and you can use it on 90mm too. So you can imagine, like me, the guy speaking to you right now on this podcast, bought it because I could use it for 9mm and 45. I'm just telling you. Years ago when I got back into silencers and was trying to find the quietest stuff and went on YouTube to ask the YouTubers what was the quietest stuff, this is what they told me. Okay. So I think it's really popular for a reason. I think, and you'll see it. I mean, you've already you should know about the silencer already, and you've seen our 9mm testing of it for 6 years now. And if you haven't, go look at it. I mean, the pure suppression performance of the Obsidian 45 is objectively high. It's an objectively high performance silencer. Objectively, I don't think there is a single person in the silencer world that would disagree with that has actually shot the silencer. It was out for a while before we tested it back then, and I think it is now, 6 years later, one of the most highly sought after and recommended 45 pistol silencers by dealers. We don't recommend silencers, but dealers do, and we see that dealers often recommend this silencer. So I'm telling you all this because as far as internal research, like IR dollars that we spend, we think this one is worth it for the general population, and I think it's a no-brainer, and I don't think there's anyone that would argue. So we got to take down a trip. We got to take a trip down memory lane when we hit the 45 ACP suppression deep dive on this silencer next week or next episode. But to give you a preview, this silencer exists because of SWR, right? Before the creation of Silencer Co. Okay, now I'm not talking about the SWR that was affiliated with Silencer Co. I'm talking about the SWR that existed before that. That's why the Obsidian 45 exists, you see. So all of you new silencer folks who are learning how about how everything came together, you're in for a treat, because a lot of you old heads, you already know all this, but all you new folks, you're going to learn, and it's going to be so fun because you're going to learn the history, which is cool. And we're going to go over that next time, okay? And so for now, you have a really solid report to review. And the Obsidian 45 is a somewhat of an interesting model because it's modular, and you might not know that. Just like the Obsidian 9 from Rugged, and the Oculus from Rugged, and the Surge, and the Radiant, and I think the Micro 30. Anyway, all those Rugged silencers you've seen us evaluate. Oh, you know what? No, that's not true. We don't have the Micro 30 on our website, do we? But we have the other ones, all the other modular Rugged silencers in the pedigree. Yeah. We spent internal dollars to evaluate all of those. Yeah, we did all the engineering on and analysis on all of the silencers. Yep, we did. It's all on our website. And all of those Rugged silencers you've seen us evaluate, they can all be run in the long or short configuration. Well, except the Razor, right? All in the long or short configuration. Just like this Obsidian 45. And the good thing for you folks, now in 2026, you've seen us evaluate modular pistol silencers before, right? But this is the first time you've seen a modular one on the 1911. Yeah. But more will come. But this is the first 1911 modular pistol silencer. So that's exciting for me because I'm a pistol silencer guy, And so when you saw the Obsidian 45 on the 9mm HKP 30L back in 2020, I'm really not sure that full characterization was possible with that. That has really always bugged me. We weren't ready to present 45 yet, but it always bugged me that that we just had the 45 can on the 9mm because you're so dang overboard in that condition, right? The large 45 caliber intended bore aperture of the Obsidian 45, it really tends to hide one of its dark secrets when you use it on a 9mm pistol. It's hiding something from you. See, because when you put the Obsidian 45 on an actual 45 pistol, it's much harder to hide the secret. And that's the back pressure. Yeah, it's way harder to hide it. And I'm going to take you through the logic and the reason for that using test data, analysis, and physics in this report. Yeah, there is a method to the madness. It was actually very important to me that the AAC Ti-RANT 45 be evaluated and published first, as it is a pivotal silencer in the 45 ACP family. The Ti-RANT 45 is very important. I think one thing that's seldom talked about is the advanced early time blast dynamics of the Ti-RANT 45. And now that you will have Obsidian 45 data, again, in both the long and the short configurations, and you'll be able to compare it with the Ti-RANT 45, I feel we're on the precipice of a new benchmarking scenario in the research. Now, you see, we've approached something very important. This is the point where we can start to really push, and we can play the discovery game again, just like we did with 22 and 308 and 300 blackout and 9mm, like in the beginning of the standard. This is very, very, very exciting, because think about this. This is like, let me paint you a picture. If you're just tuning in, or you knew, so far with 45 ACP, we have detailed information in the pedigree on the Mark 23 with the Knights and the B&T silencers, on the USP 45 Tactical with the Knights and the B&T silencers. We have detailed information on the combustion analysis of the 1911 compared with the 2 HK guns. That's never been shown in one place, to my knowledge. We have detailed information on the Ti-RANT 45 on the 1911, which is just chef's kiss, frankly. And now you're going to have long and short configurations of the Obsidian 45 on the 1911. And now add to that, we have the long and short Obsidian 45 on the 9mm from back in the day. And here's a cherry on top for you researchers. And if you're really looking at the physics, we have long and short Obsidian 9 on 9mm. Don't forget that. Oh, yeah, don't forget that part. So right now, we're in a very good spot. And I think when you see this report and you see what the Obsidian 45 is doing at the Shooter Zero on the 1911, which is, by the way, the best 45 ACP pistol host we could find to use for you folks. I'm not talking about most reliable. I'm talking about quietest or safest. It's the quietest that we could find to use for you, that's practical and available. When you see this, when you see what the Obsidian 45 does at the Shooter's Ear with the 1911, I think there's going to be a rude awakening, frankly. And that rude awakening, it could be viewed as somewhat bittersweet, and not really, maybe it's not a rude awakening for everybody. I think folks that have been sticking with their trusty AAC Ti-RANT 45, which was, the de facto 45 ACP pistol silencer standard for a long time since it was released, I think people that have been sticking with that are probably going to be incredibly pleased and reassured here that they have a humdinger. I think that you all have been led to believe over the past decade that the Obsidian 45 is somehow like a superior 45 ACP pistol silencer, and I think this report should put that to rest. This to me feels like classic Pew science. This feels like classic Mythbusters type pew signs, which is what we've been doing for 6 years. People get caught up in the hoopla and the marketing of the silencer companies and all the drama and all the wow and the whining and the crying and the tantrums and the pew signs, blah blah. You get caught up in all that stuff, but what you got to remember is we haven't changed what we've been doing for 6 years. We publish factual performance data, and it makes people angry or happy because people are emotionally tied to metal tubes. That has been the case since March of 2020 when we launched a study publicly, and it's the case now in August of 2026. And it's not going to change because people don't change. All right? So if this report feels like a bombshell, every report is. If you care about the silencer, you feel me? So and don't get me wrong, my personal opinion, I think the Obsidian 45 is a pretty good silencer. It's made well, definitely high performance in a lot of configurations on a lot of weapons. But if we're talking strictly about 45 ACP pistol suppression, I think we have to have an honest conversation about it and its back pressure and its comparison with something that's legacy not even made, the Ti-RANT 45. I think that's huge. Ti-RANT 45 is not even made anymore. So what are the mental gymnastics going to be now? Oh, he's biased. Yeah, really? I'm biased about a silencer. Both silencers that I bought personally, that I use both of them, I'm biased now. Now, spoiler alert. I get a kick out of it. Spoiler alert, though. And we're going to talk more about this more in next week's deep dive. There's something you need to know about the Obsidian 45 and different 45 ACP pistols. And this is in the report too. We tested the Obsidian 45 silencer on several 45 pistols. I am here to tell you there is not one pistol in type or brand firing full power 45 ACP ammunition that is going to hide the back pressure of the Obsidian 45. There is not one. The ejection port blast from the Obsidian 45 when suppressing a semi-automatic 45 ACP combat handgun is more severe than with the AAC Ti-RANT 45 with any handgun we have tested. What you will see in this report is the best case scenario for the silencer with full power ammunition. This is the best we could get it to perform. So Rugged, if you're listening, we tried our hardest. And that's one of the reasons the 1911 is the test host, because in all of our internal research, it makes the 45 pistol silencers look the best. So if you think we're stacking the deck for some silencer shadow government conspiracy, I'm sorry to say, we tried our hardest. This is my silencer. I have two of them. I don't know what else to tell you. This is the best it's going to do with full power ammunition. Now, if you want to use special downloaded boutique ammunition that may or may not function when you're defending yourself and your family, we'll go play. But that's not what we do with our combat handguns when we test them. So, catch up. So, along with today's report, you're also going to get Silencer Hazard Map Brief 8.1.31, as is now tradition, apparently. We used PewSoft HD to create two different hazard maps for you, one for the long configuration of the silencer, and then one for the short configuration of the silencer, both with the same 1911 host weapon and the same ammunition. They are two separate tests, and therefore two separate hazard maps, both in the free field, as you have come to understand. So the Cliff's notes for the hazard fields that you'll see on those maps are pretty simple here, actually, which is refreshing. And that's actually unlike some of the advanced modular silencers that you've seen on 9mm. It really is. Like, for example, the Cat SC, the Dead Air Mojave 9. So unlike those two very advanced 9mm silencers, the Obsidian series has high back pressure in early time, not just in late time. And that's a very, very important nuance to understand. So as a result of this, when you remove the front module of an Obsidian, whether that be an Obsidian 9 or an Obsidian 45, the early time flow rate is still high enough such that the back pressure reduction you get in late time is kind of the only power up. You know what I'm saying? Like if that doesn't make technical sense to you, another way to say that the muzzle blast gets much more severe, okay, when you remove the front, and the early time back pressure is staying the same because nothing changed in the proximal section of the silencer. So what you're left with, you get a shooter zero suppression rating that tanks like a rock in the short configuration of the silencer, and that is much different than when your silencer is what I call, to simplify this, natively high flow rate in early time through advanced blast load clearing and venting at the proximal end. Like in layman's terms, like the SC or the Mojave 9 that vent early in early time. So whether or not you have the front section attached or not, its low back pressure is happening early. It has nothing to do with what's at the distal end. It's only having to do with what's at the proximal end. So the Obsidian series doesn't have that benefit. Its back pressure stays higher than the more advanced silencers, regardless of configuration. That's probably the easiest way to say that. 1 second. And like I said earlier, that may not have been as apparent to you when you use this silencer on 9mm. And so I'm really glad that this research report once again proves that this happens kind of in a broad spectrum way. Like this is like a universal truth we've proved now. And it continues to solidify the pedigree. I mean, 6 years later, it's proven to remain consistent. This is just consistency, which is very pleasing. If you're I don't know, if you like trains and puzzles and sometimes you talk to, like, maybe you're a little on the spectrum, this should be pleasing to you because everything's very orderly and consistent, which is pleasing. So I really hope you enjoy this report. It's personally relevant to me since I'm literally like a lunatic every day carrying a full-size 45 ACP pistol that I suppress. And as some of you know, I actually do practice shooting my carry pistol suppressed at the end of most of my training sessions. I start unsuppressed, and when I'm at the end, I do not go home yet. I put the silencer on and I make sure to stay at least somewhat competent with the dang silencer, which is a different shooting experience than unsuppressed, let me tell you that much. So one of my motivations here, and I am king of this, I'm dictating what happens because I think it's important. There is one benefit to being in charge of Pew Science, and that I am the technical director of the lab, which means I get literally the final say in directing the research. Selfishly, like I told you before, I want to find the quietest and best stuff for myself. So, because again, I have personally been hoodwinked by the silencer industry and the YouTubers for too long. For those of you new to Pew Science, you need to understand that. All the noise that you're hearing in the industry, that's fine. But at the end of the day, I'm doing this because I want to know the answers. Okay? The suppression rating worked so well, I chose to share it with you. If it didn't work, I would not use it. And you would not have Pew Science because it would be not worth my time. I'm busy, okay? So when I find super awesome silencers through the testing and I use them personally, that's why. Like, you see, you guys see me shooting the Ti-RANT 45 like all the time, right? Like, that's because I found it to be really good through the testing that I published for you for free. Free for you. Costly for me. Cost a lot of money to do that. Who paid for it? The members and me. That's right. Okay. I personally, and I'm just telling you, this is a podcast. I can say whatever I want. I am telling you, I do not use any silencers on my personal guns that Pew Science has not tested and analyzed. It would be ludicrous for me to do that. It would be insane. It would make no sense. Okay? So let me tell you, and I'll go a step further if you think I'm bluffing, which you shouldn't, because there's 6 years proving that I'm not bluffing. But even so, I know some people are very skeptical. How about you peer review my list for me, peers? I am very much looking forward to testing the following 45 ACP pistol silencers. 1, Silencer Co. Osprey 45. Okay. Dead Air Mojave 45. Because guess what? We already did the Mojave 9, spent the money to do that. Boy, I'm looking forward to doing the Mojave 45. We already did the Mojave 9. I want to do the Mojave 45. Why? Because people told me it's good. Hey, I know the people at Dead Air. I know the guy who designed the Mojave 45. It's the same guy who designed the Mojave 9. Where do you think he got the tech? It was from AAC back in the day when he was working for Kevin. He also had a hand in the Ti-RANT 45. So if Mike Smith is involved with a silencer for pistols, Pew Science is going to test it. And that has nothing to do with, I don't even care if you want it done. That's happening. That's a Ron Swanson, I'm walking through Home Depot saying I know more than you moment. Okay, so we're doing that one. Next one, Thunder Beast Fly 45. Why? Why would Pew Science dedicate time to test a Thunder Beast silencer? Well, newsflash, we've tested a lot of Thunder Beast silencers. Some you've seen on the website, some you haven't. We understand Thunder Beast silencers very well. And one of the reasons I want to test the Fly 45 is because I know how the engineers at Thunder Beast think, and I want to see how it does. Because I hope it's awesome. I want to see, my personal curiosity with the Fly 45 is I want to see if they got the back pressure right. Or if it's like the old stuff. I don't know. We'll see. I could be wrong. No, you know what? I haven't even given an opinion. I don't know what we're going to find. I want to be pleasantly surprised. I'm holding out hope. What's the next one? Oh, Cat SP. Yeah. That should be interesting. Why wouldn't it be? I mean, we tested the Cat SC. To this day, the SC is one of the most insane 9mm pistol silencers on the planet. I challenge you. I really do. I challenge you. If you are a 9mm pistol person and you like silencers and you have not heard someone shoot a Cat SC or you're not shot one, you are missing an opportunity. I would go so far as to say, and I think I've been on record saying this, I would go so far as to say, if you haven't shot an SC, that would be like not shooting an AAC Ti-RANT 9, which, again, would be ludicrous for you not to do. It would be ludicrous for you not to have experienced an AAC Ti-RANT 9 on a 9mm pistol. So, and I would say the Cat SC deserves the same chance. And you know what? I would even say that the Dead Air Mojave 9 is in that conversation too. That's how good those silencers are. So when we see the Cat SP is a 45 caliber silencer, I'm not sure if it's similar to the SC. In tech, it's not exactly the same because it's a different bore. You bet your butt we're going to test it. Why wouldn't we? And that's probably a client test. Yeah, that's a client test, but who cares? Client or intern, it doesn't matter. It all costs the same amount of money. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we're paying for it or the client's paying for it. It's the same amount of money. You know why? Because it's the same hours. How do we know how much hours to charge? I mean, how do we know how much money to charge? It's the amount of hours we spend. It doesn't go faster or slower, depending on who pays. Copy? We're a service-based business. Okay, got it. Okay. So that's my personal list. Osprey, Mojave 45, Fly 45, SP. I know I'm missing some because there's 100 billion silencers. But like those are like top of mind 45 cans. Because we've already tested the stuff on the website. You've already seen the Ti-RANT 45, the Knights, and the B&T. And today you're seeing the Obsidian 45. So other than those, Osprey, Mojave, Fly, SP. Okay. If you folks have other 45 caliber pistol silencers that you're really curious about and you have a really good case for, we will spend our own money to do it. I do not care. This is Pew Science. I don't care. Let me know. We'll test them. And they can be old. I don't care. Gemtech Blackside for example. It might be fun. I mean, it's going to be super loud. It's going to be fun for me just to see what happens. And it's going to be fun for Godini when he sees it. It's going to be fun for Brittingham. It's going to be fun for the Griffin brothers. It's going to be fun for everyone that was there back then, either making silencers to compete with it, or laughing at how loud it was, or being an internet bully to people that had one. It's going to be politically fun for them. It's going to be technically interesting for me to test a Gemtech black side. I mean, I'd say probably 60% of the people listening to this podcast never even heard of the Gemtech black side because YouTubers aren't doing anything with it. But what I'm telling you is it was a silencer that a lot of people talked about back then, and I can tell you right now, if you didn't shoot it wet, it was going to be a bad time. Okay? I mean, I was just talking to Godini the other day. I mean, we should test a HEMS silencer. Loud. Very loud without water. Okay. So anyway, we should test them though to help you appreciate what the night silencer does. It's all relative, right? It's all relative. I think we should do them all dry, and then we should have a wet showdown. Stick with me. Think about it. Shoot the .45 caliber pistol silencers wet. Do all of them. Do just one report with all the wet stuff as like just a gag or something without having to go deep. So we could, again, it would be too expensive to do all of them again wet and then publish them. It'd take too long. So we could save money and time by just you trusting us and me just putting all the suppression ratings of them wet with some sample waveforms on a big article, and just trust that you, and just have faith that you would trust that we're not lying, because there's no reason to lie. You understand? Half the reason these reports are so expensive is because we thought we had to show you everything and show our work so you would believe it. And we also want to teach you the physics. But I don't have to show the work. It's, because you don't have to learn it and you don't have to listen and read. But I'm telling you, anyway, I'm losing my train of thought. I would rather just, but we need to see what if, for example, we shot a HEMS wet or a Knights. What if we shot a Knights armament can wet and it beat a Mojave 45 wet? I can tell you right now, it's possible that could happen, because when you shoot silencers wet, the physics is completely different, my friends. Completely different. And I know a lot of you don't know that, but also you might not care, and that's okay. But in 45 ACP pistol silencer land, wet shooting is important for operations, historically. Okay, cool. So go read the report. If you're super obsessed with 45 ACP pistols like me, I sure do hope that this helps you. Again, send me your 45 can pistol silencer suggestions. Yes, 4570's coming. Forget about that for now. We're talking about pistol. Send me your 45 pistol. Don't give me a subgun. I know the Obsidian can be a subgun can. I'm talking about pistol. If it doesn't have an inertial decoupler, I don't want to talk about it right now. Okay. I think we can make 45 ACP pistol suppression great again. I do think we can do that together with your help. Okay. Suppressing pistols is the best part of silencer life, my opinion. The report will be live at 0700. Be there, be square. Hope you enjoy. Now, that went way longer than I thought it was going to, but I had a lot to say, and I wasn't going to cram the technical talk next episode with all that. That's all stuff that you should just know. Okay, you just know all that. All right, and then we'll talk physics next time. Now, on topic 2, we're going to talk about Form 4 tomfoolery. Okay, time of 43 minutes. And 51 seconds. All right, 1 second, dude. Okay. So the question in this topic is, do you still need a Form 4 for personal silencer transfers? Or do you just need a 4473, as it were? And it's a really good question. And so I did want to at least address it, because this is a very historic situation, and we have not had to even give this a thought since 1934. If you were legally acquiring a silencer in the United States, because I know that the secret ingredient is crime, I get it. But if you were legally acquiring a silencer in the United States of America, you have not had to answer this question at all. And now you have to ask the question, and it's tripping everybody for a loop because these are unprecedented times for us that are live. And so I'm sure a lot of you have heard the news regarding these lawsuits and injunctions. And what I'm going to attempt to do today is walk through a brief outline of what happened and how it happened and what the current state of things are as we see them, like to the best of our knowledge. Just to, give you some info. And I want to preface this by saying I am not an attorney. Unlike some folks, I try to stay in my lane. I never sit here on this podcast and talk to you about like CQB tactics or law, or I would never. I'm not an expert in that. My professional field is blast effects, and I talk to you about that every week. I stay in my lane. So this discussion today, it's just going to be an overview. It's just an overview of administrative silencer stuff. If you have a deep legal question, I will defer you to legal authorities. I am not one. If I get something incorrect, by all means, shoot me an email. Let me know it's correct. I will issue a retraction and correction on the next episode of the podcast. I would never knowingly say something wrong and let it slide. It's not how I roll. Okay, so I have 6 things that I kind of jotted here. I think this will help you. If you're like mowing your lawn and you're not like chronically online, you might not know about this, but I'm going to give you 6 broad steps of what's going on. I think I'm going to break it down. So it all started with a catalyst. Excuse me. It was a catalyst. The catalyst was the $0 tax stamp. The chaos that has just happened, it started because on January 1st, 2026, there was that federal bill, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. It took effect. That legislation eliminated the $200 NFA tax stamp for silencers. It didn't eliminate the stamp. It made the fee $0 instead of $200. Okay. So the ATF at the time maintained that the process, the Form 4s, the fingerprinting, the photographs, the NFA registry, all mandatory still. So nothing changed but the fee. Okay, that was the first step of what started this ball rolling down the hill. Now, second step, there was a lawsuit. Silencer Shop Foundation versus the ATF. And yeah, well, there's some other people in there with Silencer Shop Foundation. Yeah, whatever. Following the elimination or reduction of the tax to $0, was it Silencer Shop, Silencer Co., PSA, B&T USA, ASA, Gunners of America. I think those are the major plaintiffs. They filed a consolidated lawsuit in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas. And if you're a lawyer person, you can look up Silencer Foundation versus ATF and Jensen versus ATF. You can look at that. The argument in that suit was that the NFA was constitutionally justified under Congress's taxing authority. Okay? Now, because the tax was reduced to $0, these plaintiffs, they argued, well, the ATF no longer has the constitutional authority to enforce the registration and approval. Because if the tax is $0, you have no tax authority. Therefore, why would the NFA be constitutionally justified? That's their argument, I think. I'm sure someone will correct me if not. Now, the ruling from that suit on, I think it was August 5th, this judge, he's like, yeah, I agree. NFA registration requirements for items like silencers are now unconstitutional. Sure. He said, I agree. So he issued a permanent injunction barring the ATF from enforcing the requirements against the plaintiffs and their customers. That's, I think, what the ruling was in that case. Okay. So that's the third thing. So now the injunction taking effect is this big thing. So the judge, he stayed his own order for 7 days because they had to give the DOJ, the Department of Justice, time to file an emergency appeal. So on August 13th, DOJ chose not to seek an emergency stay, and then the injunction went live at like midnight or something. I think that's when Dave from Silencer Shop transferred a silencer to Brandon Herrera on a 4473. And frankly, I mean, was it like kind of like a marketing, like showy thing to do? Yeah, probably. Was it historic? Yeah, it's like the first time that's been done since 1934. So I think that's why they did it. It was like, yeah, well, look at us. Whatever. Now, I think the appeal window for that, though, technically, I think the government has 60 days. I think that's until October 5th, I want to say, to file a standard appeal. I think that's right. But there's this representative on Twitter or whatever. I think it was Andrew Clyde. He's like, hey, we got confirmation from the presidential administration that the DOJ will not be pursuing an appeal. So, people retweeted that and we're like, whoa, that's crazy. Maybe it's going to happen. So then fourth thing you got to think about, who's covered by this, right? It's like, well, it's kind of a nuance. Sort of it's a pretty critical nuance. This is not a nationwide blanket injunction. Can't be. Right? It says, well, covered parties, who are they? Well, the injunction protects the named plaintiffs, their current future members, their customers. So what does that mean? Well, it might mean people buying a silencer from Silencer Shop dealers, B&T, PSA, members of the ASA, members of Gun Owners of America, yeah. So there's that. You're like, okay, you have to think about that. Then you think, well, what about locales? So you have so-called free states, then you have NFA states, because the injunction, it's a federal it enjoins a federal enforcement, but it doesn't touch state law, right? So there's 27 free states, but then there's 15 other states that they got their own state level NFA registration laws or bans, meaning based in so many words, it's like, well, you can't even have a silencer unless it's federally registered. That's what their laws say, those 15 states. So, so the Form 4 process for them, which is a federal registration, that's legally required for those states. It's like, oh man. So that's something to think about. And then what's the fifth thing? Well, there's a new transfer process to think about. Like, see how things are like, they started off kind of cool and everything sounded good, but now things are getting muddy? Yeah, that's where the literal muddiness comes from. This is clear as mud. Stick with me. Fifth thing here, the new transfer process. 4473 route. Okay. Well, if you're in a free state, supposedly the federal registration process is dead. So what does that mean? Well, what's gone? Well, there's no Form 4, no fingerprint cards, no passport photos, no, you can't put the silencer on the registry because you wouldn't be filing a Form 4, so there's no transfer. So you wouldn't enter that transfer on the registry. The silencer could be on the registry from the Form 2 when the guy made it, but what about on the Form 3 from when it got transferred? You see, there's no weight because you don't have any federal NFA approval. So those things are kind of gone. But then what's remaining then in theory? Well, silencers are still firearms under the Gun Control Act. Right? So remember, we got Title 1 and Title 2. Well, Title 2 is going away. You got Title 1. You still got Title 1. It's still firearm. And so you still got to run through an FFL. You got to complete the 4473. You got to pass the NICS check. You just like buying a standard Title 1 gun. Okay? So that's a little fuzzy. You know what I mean? And then, number 6 here, this big thing. Now, this is the big thing. The current ATF guidance, or really lack thereof, as of today, and this is, I'm recording this on August 19th. So as of today, the ATF has not issued official implementation guidance for this. One second. And it's kind of weird. I can say, Pew Science, we're in 0702, right? Because we have to be able to manufacture. So we're in 07 FFL because we have to be able to manufacture, a machine gun or Well, that's a little fuzzy. We have to be able to manufacture a short barrel rifle for testing. Okay. Purposes, things like that. So we don't make silencers, but we need to be able to reconfigure NFA items. Understand, for testing purposes. So that's why we're in 07, and we're in 02 SOT because Title II. So we're in 07, 02. So I think I can speak from my experience, and we have to keep our books just like any other 07, 02 does. The ATF not issuing guidance is a little bit concerning because we don't want to go to jail, and we don't want to lose our license because then we couldn't conduct business. Feel me? So ATF hasn't issued official guidance. The Department of Justice stepped aside. And so right now, the silencer industry and the firearms industry is operating on legal interpretation rather than operating on formal ATF directive. And I don't want to get in an argument about what the ATF should or shouldn't do. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is like, this is all like a bunch of attorneys or armchair attorneys' opinions, and attorneys' opinions is basically interpretation of legalese instead of like a formal government directive. So you have industry groups like the NSSF, the ASA, they're advising dealers how to proceed. Okay, fine. Like for example, dealers processing silencers under the injunction, they're currently being advised to check like other firearm in box 24, the 4473, they leave box 28 unchecked. Whatever, dude. Like Pew Science doesn't do 4473s. My personal opinion, I try to stay away from a 4473 when it's all possible because you have to keep those things forever. Like I don't want to go near them because we don't sell stuff to public or anything. I don't like 4473s. So there's that. Like I just want to let you know, if you go to a gun store, there's a chance that the gun store doesn't want to do this for you and they just want to do a Form 4. I wouldn't necessarily yell at them for that because they are rightfully so concerned they could lose their license or go to jail, or pay a fine. So it's important. Breaking the law is bad. And there's two other outstanding gray areas that you should just be aware of, and we haven't even talked about yet. Short barrel rifles and short barrel shotguns. They're part of the lawsuit, but I'm pretty sure they still require a Form 4 in all the 50 states due to there's a separate unchallenged requirement under the Gun Control Act. So that could be wrong. Just be careful with the SBR and SBS. I'm not an attorney. I'm just saying this is a gray area. And there's the other gray area, interstate travel and warranties. Very strange. If you buy a silencer on a 4473, I don't think it ends up in the registry the same way. So if you transport them across state lines or you ship them back to the manufacturer for warranty work, I don't know how that works out with 18 U.S. Code 5861, I think it is. So again, until the ATF issues a nationwide policy, those actions, they're a little ambiguous, at least to me. And again, I'm not an attorney, but if there's anyone telling you they definitively know how SBRs and SBSs and interstate travel warranties are working with these 4473 silencers, I don't. They might be legal authorities, and you might listen to them. That's cool, but I'm telling you, I would question that because I don't know, and I haven't heard like a de facto government get out of jail free card statement that, boy, it sure. Look, I'm old enough to know. It sure is good when you have a little permission slip saying, "No, see, I'm okay." Like for example, that Form 4, I like that because it says, "Hey, this is okay." You know what I mean? Anyway, so the industry coalitions, I'm sure they're lobbying. They're currently lobbying the White House and the DOJ to apply the ruling nationwide, because I think there can be an executive way to do that with the executive enforcement policy, rather than keeping it like this weird plaintiff party stuff. I'm pretty sure the executive branch has a mechanism by which they can issue the ruling nationwide. I don't know for sure, but I would think so. I'm assuming that the lobbyists, like whether it's the Silencer Shop Foundation or whatever these, or the ASA, the ASA is a lobbying group, right? It's not like they're not. I mean, we need lobbying groups that lobby for our Second Amendment interests, and that's fine. I'm just saying, like, that's what they are. So, of all the stuff you think the ASA does, this is what they should be. They're lobbyists. So it's their job now to make it so that this would be nationwide. Okay? Anyway, so all of this being said, if I were a silencer consumer today and I wanted to get a silencer, at the risk of sounding like a FUD, I might just err on the side of caution and do it on a Form 4. But before you crucify me for saying that, the reason I'm saying that is because the tax stamp's free. So you're not at risk. And I'm sort of like, part of my job is like understanding risk. And it seems pretty safe to me to do the Form 4. Now, I know it's really fun to be different sometimes. And you know what? Based on principle, it probably feels really good to snub the NFA process. I get it, dude. Believe me. At the end of the day, in practicality, the tax stamp is on a government form, and you probably just want to shoot your silencer, whether that's at the range or hunting a deer. And my vote, if it's worth anything, is it's my personal opinion. I would just let the dust settle before you change what you're doing as a consumer. And those, again, just my 2 cents. Either way, you're going to be registering something with the government. You are going to be on a list no matter what you decide, 4473 or Form 4. Trust me. If you're doing this legally, they know who you are. You can do whatever you want. I'm not your dad, but I hope this helps at least like illustrate potential issues that you might have. And I hope it gives you the where, the when, the why, the how, all that stuff. Okay. And so if you have any questions with that, I'll do my best to answer them. And if I got anything wrong, hey, I'm looking to learn with you. Okay. So great. Obsidian 45, 1911 report that is very exciting. Will be live at 0700. Please read it. And if you don't want to read it, that's okay. We'll go talk about it in depth next episode. Okay. All right. You all have a wonderful rest of your week. Good luck. Stay safe. Be good. And I will talk with you folks again soon. Okay. Bye.